have two very special guests with us. Uh, I think I started too early. Hi, everybody. Today we have two very special guests with us. We have Kevin and Jennifer Malek, and they are paranormal investigators, and they head up a society, don't you?
Yes.
Can you tell me what that is and what it's about?
Sure. We run the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited. It's in Rylander, Wisconsin. We cover the top third of Wisconsin. We cover 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary last Halloween. And we, for the most part, we help families who are troubled or sometimes even traumatized by paranormal activity. So we have, we're fortunate to have quite a diverse and knowledgeable team, members from different areas of expertise.
Okay.
And we all, anytime we have a case, we all look at it from our perspective, I guess, spokes on a wheel, if you will, all trying to, when we can agree, when we can all agree on what's, the general idea on what's going on and everything, we know we're onto something, and we have pretty good results with that.
Okay, really? That's cool. Now, Jennifer, I'm not sure if you're a member of our group or not over at Facebook. I'm pretty sure Kevin is. But you also now you two also have a group at Facebook, and it's called the Lake Monstrosities. That's correct, right?
Yes, it is our largest aquatic cryptozoological group on Facebook. We cover aquatic mysteries.
Yeah, yeah. So do you guys focus on that, being up in Wisconsin?
Well, Wisconsin's got a rich history of lake monsters. There are 15 of them in Wisconsin. Don't ask me to name all of them, but I can name most. But be that as it may, yes, because well, they call Minnesota the land of 10,000 lakes.
Right.
Wisconsin's got more lakes than Minnesota.
If I'm not really? I didn't know.
Yes.
So, yeah. Now, lake monsters is, like I said, we cover 8 categories, and the lake monstrosities. 5 years ago, we were at a meeting, a weekly NWPS meeting, and incidentally, we have right now 4 members of our society who are also professional fishing guides. I don't know how that works out, but be that as it may, respectable too. One of the members is Jeff Stens. He's a master angler. They call him the Crappie King. We were talking one day at a meeting, and we said, there's no Facebook groups for lake monsters, and we couldn't believe it. And we said, well, do you think we could start one and do it responsibly and respectfully, to where do you think we could do a good job at it? And the answer was, of course. So we started the group, and right after we started the group, we met Scott Mardis at the Zombie Pleasure Society, who is now an admin at Lake Monstrosities. He's an aquatic cryptozoologist. Probably on my list, he's the top one, and I would say most people feel the same. So, be that as it may, I would say going into creating Lake Monstrosities, Lake Monsters was just another one of the many things we covered. Nothing we really excelled in. 5 years since Lake Monstrosities, we've learned a lot over that time, and lake monsters has become one of those subjects that we've we have no problem covering. So, but with the lake monsters, or the lake monstrosities, it's also, we cover ghost ships, we cover USOs, we cover haunted lighthouses, haunted bridges, haunted lakes and islands,
Yeah.
Atlantis, all that stuff.
I lived in Minnesota for many years, and so I've heard of a lake monster that was up in Lake Superior. Do you know about that?
Pressy.
Cressy, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. Have you investigated that?
No, we haven't. We haven't gone out there and investigated it. But we have heard many, or I should say we've read many accounts of people having sightings and whatnot.
So, have you guys personally had any sightings?
No.
Of any of them? Not just that one, of any of the lake monsters, or? No,
I would say if you talk to Jeff Stenz, or if you talk to Don Young, who's another cryptozoologist on our team, he's an Iroquois shaman and he's a fishing guide. And Rick Eby is a muskie guide, and I hate when names escape me.
I'm the same way.
John Keeper also. So they may have had experience. I know they've had unusual experiences. As far as lake monsters, I don't. I think seeing a lake monster is you're more likely to, yeah. I mean, to truly see something. I mean, you can see anything swimming in the water and call it a lake monster, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what is that? You zoom in and you see it's an otter or something. But on a picture, it looks like, some unidentified creature.
Right. Yeah. I personally, I'm not a big believer in Nessie, but that's not to say that monstrosities don't exist in lakes. I think they do. I mean, I've seen oversized eels, that kind of thing in videos. I've never seen one personally. But yeah, Jennifer, I want to turn this over to you for a moment. Now, you're a demonologist, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
So, in your investigations, what's Ed and Lorraine Warren? Lorraine just recently died. They didn't really believe in ghosts so much as they believed that all hauntings were caused by demons. Do you believe that?
I think it's a mix, actually. I think that there are human spirits that do cause haunting activity, but I also can tell you that there are demonic entities that are connected to paranormal to hauntings, and a lot of times they even masquerade as human spirits.
Well, what has been your experience with that?
I specialize. I am the resident demonologist for the society. Okay. So when we get cases that are potentially demonic, we'll check into it. We'll interview the person. I'll ask them. I'll start off with stuff like, do you believe in God? If so, what is your religious belief? How did this haunting start? And I'll take it step by step. If I can help them in any way possible, I will. If I can't, I do have a really good network of other demonologists and clergy that may be able to help people in areas that they live that I can't necessarily get to.
I see. Being as you guys are up in Wisconsin, are you associated with Laura Lee Potvin?
We know of her, yes.
Okay. We had her on the show, and she was actually on a TV show with her story. It was called Paranormal Survivor. And anyhow, her home is haunted by a demon, and terribly so, actually. And so much so that she has asked paranormal investigators to come out to investigate, and they are even too frightened to go there to do it. So I was wondering if maybe I could put you in touch with her, and maybe you guys could go talk to her. Now she's up in Canada, but she's in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, we know her.
Yeah.
We're actually friends with her on Facebook.
Okay.
We were on the same radio network.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
Her show and Paraversal Universe, our show, ran on late night in the Midlands. So we met her, I'd say, almost 2 years ago. We were guests on Paranormal Soup, and she had called in with her story.
Yeah, and that's how we met.
Between Jennifer and myself, we know a lot of people, not just in Wisconsin, but
Yeah.
throughout the country and even the world.
Right.
And we made the effort to try to find somebody to go to her residence. We couldn't do it.
No.
She's in Canada.
Right.
You know, we cover the top third of Wisconsin, and that's where once in a while we'll go out of the area for this or that, but certainly not another country. So the problem is that, you know, she's kind of in an isolated spot in the sense that there aren't a lot of major cities around. I mean, it is Canada. It's on the north side of Lake Superior. And everyone we tried to contact was mostly just too far away. Was a big problem. But, you know, that's something that she's been dealing with for a while.
Yeah, it's awful, actually.
Yeah.
So,
and everyone that's reached out to her, to our knowledge, has given her advice and tips and things she could do to protect herself, her family, and her home. So,
you know, you mentioned that you're in contact with a lot of people, and since Ralph and I have been doing this, we've been doing this for the past couple of years, and it's amazing how small the network actually is. Because, like you, we have friends throughout the country and worldwide, even. You know, we're good friends with Gavin Lee Davies. I'm sure you know about him.
Oh yeah, we're really good friends with him. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just kind of amazing to me how tight knit this community is, really.
Well, it's nice. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've been friends with Gavin Lee Davies for a good number of years now.
Probably 5 years.
We write articles for his magazine. I did
too. Yeah.
I did a demonology piece for his book, The Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest.
Okay.
So,
yeah, she did a demonology assessment in that book, or at least like a page and a half worth of just the basics that were needed to know for the book. You know, like from a demonologist perspective. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I've written one article for him, in the first issue, and I'm very into UFOs, and so I wrote about UFOs and aliens.
Oh,
cool. He was with MUFON for a year.
Oh, were you? Okay.
I'm a former certified field investigator.
Can you tell me about MUFON? I'm kind of interested in getting involved with that.
Well, I could tell you that if you want to learn ufology and you want to go about it in a way that will to where you'll be respected. MUFON is good for that. I went into MUFON because I was aware that they had things that they could teach me about ufology and about paranormal investigating in general, because it is based on scientific method. Ufology, as of last year, is now a science. It's no longer just a pseudoscience.
Oh, really? So it's now categorized as that, huh?
Yes. Out in Turkey last year was the first recognized accredited academic college to offer courses in ufology. That's a big deal. Some people said, "Oh, maybe America dropped the ball on it," and maybe we did. Maybe we should have been the first. But the fact that that precedent has been established is a big deal. And but yeah, be that as it may, if you want to learn ufology, if you take the MUFON certification course, you know, when I come across someone else that's a MUFON investigator, whether they are or were, I know they you know, the book. I got just a second.
Yeah, who's gonna get the manual? He'll show you guys what the manual looks like.
Okay.
This is the manual you get when you join.
Yeah, so you get this big manual, right? And it's like called the MUFON Bible, if you will. It's just packed full of all. It's basically like a college course.
Right.
And because you not only have aspects of ufology and investigation, but you also have there's stuff in here on aviation. I mean, you need, as well as knowing your unidentified flying objects, you need to know your identified flying objects. There's stuff in astrology, as far as, because, you know, people
Astronomy.
I'm sorry, astronomy. Thank you. My mistake. You know, people all the time are misidentifying just regular, planets or stars as stuff. So you got to know all that. Meteorology, that's important to know too. So it will teach you a lot of things that, and this stuff, MUFON's been around since the 60s. The people that have put into this to come up with this edition are brilliant minds, military minds, credited people. So it's yeah. Now, for us, I got the certification. It took me a year to study it, to learn it. I took the test. I passed the background check. We spent a year with MUFON. We affiliated with them as far as like our society and MUFON, like it would be an affiliate. And we sat down as a team and said, okay, we'll try this for a year and see how it works. At the end of the year, we'll reevaluate it and see if this is something we want to continue with or not. I was interested in education. The thing is, when you become a MUFON investigator, don't expect to go on all the most amazing UFO cases, because that's not going to happen. It's been speculated that the government is cherry picking the top cases to monitor, or for whatever reason.
I can see that, definitely.
Now, for us, we decided that first of all, our number one goal is that we must never make a situation worse for a family. Okay, if they call us and they say, "I seen a UFO," the procedure was, okay, go to the MUFON site, fill out your thing, and then they will send it to us, and I will get assigned to the case if it's in my area, and that's how we'll work this. But in good conscience, not knowing what's going on with the most critical cases, is it in the family's best interest to have another party come in that wasn't asked for to monitor the case and whatever, there have been, I know one former state director from a different state who had claimed that there's one time that this tipped him off. He was on the computer, a case happened to come in, happened to be put forward for them, and then as he was looking at it, the case disappeared. Completely gone. And he was excited because as he was reading, it's like, wow, this is a good case. We don't see too many of these. Why? Well, go figure, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
Investigators get stuck with the very bottom, mundane kind of like, so you saw a light in the sky.
Yeah.
While you were driving, nothing happened. It was really quick. Just, so you'll get from the simplest reports to interesting, but anything, of course, the STAR team is going to get it first, and then the state directors are going to work it before you do, if they do. So for us, it's like I learned the ufology, the scientific method, the investigation part. I like that it was all formulated and laid out. That was good structure for me as an investigator that I could pass along to the team, certain protocols or aspects that are important.
Now, are you the only ufologist in your society?
No. Mike Lucas is also in our society, and he is the former state director for MUFON in Wisconsin. He was the guy I worked under for the year that we were with. He left MUFON. I left MUFON 2 weeks after he did. Actually, I don't know the exact number. I know a few investigators left after Mike did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From different states.
Well, from Wisconsin, and then there were other states that were having people leave too. There's kind of an influx. I mean,
I imagine it's very frustrating to get these low-level cases.
Well, for us, I mean, after a year, it was like there was compatibility issues too. For example, some of the cases, when we get a case, when we work a case, sometimes you got to establish what kind of case it is first, because for instance, they're getting visited at night by what they think are aliens, but it may be a demonic thing masquerading.
Right.
So just an example, but you got to look at every case from all these angles to make sure that we're even on the right track. Now, for me, the team is a valuable resource. A case comes in, we have a psychotherapist, Tom McGuire, is a parapsychologist by definition. He's got a degree in psychology. I want his opinion, on, I want to be able to come to him and say, hey, this is, what's your opinion on this? Jennifer is a demonologist. I want to be able to say, hey, what's your opinion on this? These are my personal resources as an investigator to use. MUFON was like, nope, you can't talk to him. You can't tell him about any of it. And it's like, well,
that doesn't make much sense. I mean, isn't that the whole point in investigation?
Well, they have, the thing is, they're so big and they got these their own protocol set up, and I'm sure they have reasons for it and stuff. But for us, the compatibility was right out the window.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's like I can only investigate in this little tiny thing. If I want to go anywhere out, and these people haven't paid MUFON dues, then they can't. It's like no. So
yeah, it seems like it's something that started off maybe as a good idea, but it was, and all good ideas.
Great. I mean, I would say, do it.
Yeah.
Spend a year, go through the course, get your certification. When you deal with within the field of ufology, just being a one-time certified investigator will give you stature. Because what else are you going to get in ufology unless you're a physicist or you bring your academics into it? That's the other option, of course. Like Stanton Friedman, we should mention, passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, he did. I didn't know that.
Yeah, may he rest in peace, by the way.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
One of the most recognized figures in ufology.
Yeah. Do you have a website for your society?
Yeah.
Okay. If you do me a favor, well, first of all, what's the URL for that?
Well, if people go to nwiparanormal.com.
Okay. If you can send me a link to that, I'll place it in the description below.
Okay.
But Ralph, I've been dominating the questions here. Do you have something?
Yeah, I actually want to know, like, we got into this because of past experiences we've had in paranormal and seeing UFOs, stuff like that. What brought you guys into this area? What made you guys decide to do what you do?
Me, I was always into the paranormal, I guess, way before even TV shows were the norm like they are now. I used to go and take books out of the library. I would go read magazines. I would get my hands on whatever I could as far as paranormal stuff went. I grew up in a family where a lot of the females had mediumistic and psychic abilities. And so at a very young age, I was able to see and hear and speak with spirits.
Interesting.
And as, like I said, with all the research over the years, as I got more curious, that's kind of just where it started. As far as my demonology goes, I had an experience quite some time ago now of when I was still living in South Florida, of where I was asked to come into a home and do a medium walk. And long story short, the family there were sending out investigators to come in and get attacked by a demonic entity that they purposely summoned to hang out in the house because it turns out they were Satanists.
Oh, really?
I got physically attacked by this thing during my medium walk.
Interesting.
And instead of me running away from it, that made me more curious. And I started studying into demonology because I realized that I could maybe help people with what I learned from demonology, because nobody should have to suffer any kind of demonic oppression whatsoever.
Right.
And over the last couple of years, I was able to hook up with my mentor, who was a demonologist and exorcist, but he's retired. And so he took me under his wing and I went from there. And then I just decided, that when we do these cases, that something I want to work with are negative hauntings. And that's how we come to have the network and stuff that we do.
Now, is your own home haunted?
It's an old, yes.
Yes.
But it's not haunted in the sense that it's scary.
Right. So no poltergeist activity kind of thing.
No.
we don't even have moving objects. Or we have like I'm not psychic, but I've seen like wispy, almost looks like smoke a couple times. And my first thought is anything burning? Like, is there a cigarette lit somewhere? Is there incense burning? You know, and like, no, there should be no reason why. I just saw that wispy thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I've seen that a couple times. And then we have a ghost cat
that followed us home from an investigation. Like
we have one too.
We have a ghost cat.
Yeah, and I've seen it once, just out of the corner of my eye. And the thing was, I had a buddy here, and he was sitting on the couch, and so I see this animal go shooting by as I'm sitting there, and I just look over at my buddy, and his eyes are wide and stuff. And I go, "Did you see that?" He goes, "I did see that." And I'm thinking, "Oh, I got vermin in my house." So now I'm on all fours trying to see where it went, and I, you know, clearly as fast as it was going the direction it headed, it literally went right into the cabinet over there and disappeared. I got on all fours trying to see if there's any possible way for any kind of animal to escape, and there's nowhere for any animal to go.
Yeah, we also have a female spirit and 2 male spirits, but it's like Kevin was saying, unless they went out of their way to cause a ruckus or make noises, you would never know that they were there.
Right. We have the same situation here. The cat that we have an actual cat, and I was walking down the hallway, and I was passing by the doorway to our studio here, and I thought it was my cat that jumped out in front of me and almost tripped me, and it hissed. And I looked down, damn cat, I almost fell over, you know? And then I looked up, and the cat is in the living room on the couch, my own cat. And so, yeah, I mean, so I've seen the cat a couple of times, but just briefly.
We also have the cat coming in, rubbing against you. You know how a cat will rub against your leg?
Yes.
We'll have that happen and then look up, and our cat that's in the house is sleeping on the couch, yet we just felt a cat rubbing against our legs.
Yeah.
We also have what I think is a shadow person. He hangs out in our hallway. What do you guys think about shadow people?
You want to go first, or you want me to?
I always question when it comes to shadow people, because I know that there are some instances where you hear that human spirits, when they first start forming and they get used to you seeing them, sometimes people have reported that they'll turn out to be shadow at first, no discernible features. I'm on the fence about it, because if you look at the demonology side of it, whenever you come across a shadow person, and they usually look for trademarks like red eyes. Like, say, for instance, if you see a shadow person with the red eyes, then that's very possibly that it could be a demon. I think most shadow people are interdimensional.
I was about to ask you that, if you thought they were actually spirits or if they're interdimensional beings. Now, the one that we have here we can't see its eyes, and we just see it for a split second, and he's always in this one part of the hallway. But I say he, I don't know if it's a he or not, but it's just that this image, this dark image that's about 6 feet tall and in the shape of a man.
You know, I agree with Jennifer. Like, I think some shadow people are misidentified. They may be ghosts. You know, like when you see a tornado, and on one side of the tornado can, let's say, the sky looks a dark blue and the tornado looks dark blue. But if you go on the other side of that, because of the sun, where the sun is, the tornado looks a completely different color. It may look black, so I think the same thing happens with entities sometimes. But and I agree with Jennifer when it comes to just shadow people, red eyes or not. In demonology, that's suspect. So it's demonic. You know, more than half of the reports of shadow people are negative. Okay, and I think that's why and nobody knows for sure if they're demonic or not. Demonic in the sense of fallen angel. You know, I tend to think of shadow people, a true shadow person, as, like Jennifer said, an interdimensional being. Certainly, you know, we look at the reports closely to try to distinguish if it is a ghost or if it is a shadow person.
Yeah.
And then once we distinguish that, then you got to distinguish if it's demonic or not.
Mhm.
Now, if you're not getting attacked, if there's no impression issues, if there isn't a list of things that are concerning, if you're just seeing the shadow person once in a while, nothing else is going on besides that,
Yeah.
then you're you know, it's like you said, you live with it, you know, it hasn't scared you out of your home.
Yeah, so far we haven't had an issue with it at all. It's not really doing anything. It just hangs out there. But
Right.
I've heard that the more often you see it, the more likely it's something is going to happen soon.
Well, that could be too. I
Yeah,
mean,
it could be.
I would, you know, I shadow people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, they're inherently creepy.
Right. Well, usually they say that when you see a shadow person with red eyes, they usually attribute that to an occult demon.
Mm.
And that usually comes into play, say, if somebody may be casting spells on you,
Okay.
or, you know, basically summoning these things up to try and wreak havoc in your
Or
life.
you move into an
Or
area
you move into an area.
that had all that going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if demons are going to manifest, we can physically see them in some shape or form. A dark shadow is certainly one of the ways. I would,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, it's a tough call. You have to look at not just what you visually saw, but all the other, the circumstances around it, you know, to kind of get a better idea.
Yeah.
Now, like you say, if you're seeing it more and more, if
It could be, right.
I mean, the minute if you have a negative experience with it, I would treat it as a, you know, at that point, if you're starting to have negative experiences, then you know you'd want to take action of some kind. But then, like I said, it might just be a ghost. You could be seeing the shadow of a ghost, or just catch, you know, it's hard to say.
I'm like a magnet for this stuff because I mean, almost every place I've ever lived, I've had paranormal activity happening around me, and I don't know why that is.
I don't know
why
if
they
consider
like
it
it.
a magnet. I think it's just because you are able to see and you have the open mind to be able to see.
Maybe
things.
that's what it is.
I think that it sounds to me more like that you have abilities.
Yeah, that you're just open to it.
Yeah, because that's you know, that's what happens with her.
Yeah, I get that. I've had that every place I've ever been throughout my whole entire life. We go to public places. If you know, if I see people walking around grocery stores or like Walmart or just walking outside, and they have spirits following around and may not know it, I'll see spirits following people around.
Mm-hmm. You know, and on top of everything else, I'm an abductee, and so yay! But
that's a whole thing into it too.
I'm sorry.
That adds a whole flavor of its own, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole thing in itself.
So we're going to be wrapping this up here soon, but I have last questions for you. I'll start with you, Jennifer. What can you tell me about the most interesting paranormal case you've ever worked on?
That was going to be my next question.
Oh, yeah, we've had so many. I mean, they've all been interesting in one way or the other. We had a case of a couple that we worked on last year, not too far from here. They lived in, I don't even know if you should say where they're from.
I don't even know what you're talking about yet.
Lake Tomahawk.
Well,
so we had a residential case where this woman was being affected. She's, I guess, what you would consider a slider. She can't be around anything electrical, like batteries for watches.
Oh, I see. Okay, I've known a couple people like that.
Stuff like that. And they were having activity in their home, and she was really afraid because she didn't know what was going on. And the night before we were set to go and investigate the home, we were talking about, you know, shadow demons. I got visited by a shadow demon, and it was at 3 a.m. in the morning. I was in a deep sleep, and I was just jarred out of a deep sleep, and it was at the foot of the bed on the ceiling looking down at me.
Ooh.
So instead of reacting to it and giving it energy, I turned over and I said the St. Michael prayer and the Hail Mary prayer each 2 to 3 times. And right before it left, I can actually tell you that I felt it leave. So after the prayers were done and I looked back up, it was gone. And so we went to this case and we worked the case for a little bit. And this thing would hang out in the basement. And we actually added to our Don, our shaman came in, and between him and I, we were able to remove it from the home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was an interesting case, because when we first walked in, because when we go do investigations, we try to look for things to debunk.
Okay.
There's like a draft coming from someplace. Okay, is there like a window open, or
Yeah, you got to rule
is there like
out
a
all
short,
the-
like a short in the light bulb? And we started smelling this smell that I can only describe as raw sewage. And we
Really?
had asked the homeowners if they had any issues with the pipes and the plumbing, and they said everything was fine. But we all noticed that after a few minutes of it, it would go away and it would come back. And it did it periodically throughout the investigation. And as soon as we were able to get rid of it off the property, she didn't have any issues anymore. And one of the first things we noticed was that smell was gone.
Okay.
Now, at the time, they had 2 cats. I think one of their cats has since passed, but the cats refused to go near the basement. They would literally go in the hallway at the top of the steps and just sit there and growl at the
Really?
basement.
Really?
Interesting.
I've found that to be true, that cats are very sensitive to dogs as well, but mainly cats.
Yeah, I think they're like, we only see 10% of a visual spectrum,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I think that they're either a little bit adjusted from ours, or they can see a little bit more. But there's no doubt that sometimes they can see stuff we can't see. They're looking at something, and it's like, what do you know?
Yeah, I think sometimes they see just a small flying insect or something that we can't see. Sometimes it's that, but I think more often than not, they do see spirits
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about when a dog all of a sudden starts growling for no reason?
growling or barking
Yeah.
at a wall or something.
Right to the closet, starts growling. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is a little tougher. Go ahead.
What information or what advice can you give our listeners who are having any problems in their house right now?
Find a good, reputable team with years of experience. And don't be afraid to look into the team. I wouldn't just go with a lot of people just go with the first team they can get.
Uh-huh.
And if you take just a little time, look into all the teams in your area. Find the one that you feel is the most professional and will help you the most. Make sure that they respect your religious beliefs, whatever
Yes.
they are. A lot of times we recommend that people try to work out their differences within their own denominational beliefs first. And if that doesn't work, then bring in another denomination to try, in other words, if let's say you have a Lutheran family and they're having an issue, certainly we want the pastor, if they're involved with the church, to be involved with this too. That's, you don't always get that though, but if you can, that's a good thing. But sometimes you got to bring in outside, sources, deliverance ministers and stuff. They may not always be the identical denomination you are, but if you're Christian, for example, let's say you're Methodist and a Catholic priest comes in to do a exorcism, home exorcism, for example. That's fine. What else?
I would imagine it's hard to find priests that do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is,
but now as of late though, the Vatican is actually opening its doors to teach all denominations.
I've heard that, yeah. I was actually kind of surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing because I think more different religions out there could benefit from it.
Yeah.
We're certainly the ones with the most experience.
Right. And, and then as far as the demonologist goes, what I could recommend to people is if you feel that you're in fear in your home, don't confront it. Don't give it any of your time. Don't give it any of your energy. Don't let it get to you, because that's what these things usually want.
Exactly. I was going to mention that. I think that that's what they want. They want the attention. They want your
Right.
acknowledgement.
Right. Prayer is a good thing.
Yep.
If you feel you may need somebody to come in the home, like Kevin was just saying, if you're religious, whether you're under the Christianity umbrella of different religions, or you're Catholic, talk to your pastor, your priest. If you feel uncomfortable with telling them about the activity, you can simply just come in and request to have the home blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that there have been cases of clergy that do come to homes that have discernment that if anything's there, they'll know that it's there.
Right.
And they'll say something.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Biggest piece of advice I can give people: if you ever come across anybody on radio or through TV that tells you that prayer doesn't work, and that if you're in fear, don't pray because God's not going to help you, don't listen to that person or those people, because that's their point, that's their viewpoint, that's their beliefs.
Right.
I would encourage people to pray.
Yeah. So Kevin, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Jennifer, but on what was the most interesting case you worked on regarding UFOs or aliens?
My most interesting experiences with anything in ufology are personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say I've had 3 what I call major UFO sightings. And they're not the same kind. They were all separate and apart from each other. The craft looked different. The vibes were different. But them 3 experiences far outweigh anything I've personally investigated as far as talking to witnesses or that kind of thing. Like I said, when it comes to like, if there's any physical evidence or if there's any case in ufology that was, well, you know, I should also mention this. We are now Mike Lucas of Wisconsin, the old Wisconsin MUFON director, state director. He started the UFO Wisconsin research team.
Okay.
And it consists of, well, there's 4 members from the NWPS. It's an affiliate. Mike, Jennifer, Tom, and myself are on the team, along Tobias Whalen from Singular Fortean is a member. And there are a couple other MUFON, ex-MUFON investigators who are now part of that team. So you can go to the Wisconsin UFO research team if you have a ufological experience. You can go to them and you'll get the top or the same level of investigation quality that you would from MUFON without the politics and the bullcrap.
Oh, really?
So I just want to put that out there. How much time do we have?
Whenever.
Well, I asked.
We're on Google Hangouts. We've got like 3-4 hours or something like that.
How about I tell you my scariest experience of all time?
Sure.
This happens to do with UFOs. I was sleeping on a couch next to a giant picture window. You can see the whole sky. And this window was set up where the bottom part of the window you can open. And then, of course, the big panes you couldn't open, but they were there. So I had the window open. It was the middle of summertime. I was in a deep sleep. And as I'm lying there, all of a sudden, my eyes popped wide open, and I turned my head. And as I turned my head and looked out the window, I seen this thing shoot this way, then this way, then this way. It looked like it was gritting, like the way it was going back. It was about, from my perspective, it was about that big. It was a large oval, orange shaped thing that was shooting back and forth. My thought when I woke up was that I was in danger. Like, Kevin, wake up, you're in danger. I open my eyes, I look, I see this thing. As I notice this, I can hear the dog barking across the street, and then it started to whine. Right when it started to whine, the bird, there's an aviary that was upstairs from where I was sleeping, where parakeets, cockatiels, and all that are bred. It's like 50 birds in this room.
Okay.
They all burst into night fright, which is when something freaks them out, and in the middle of the night when it's dark. And then what they do is they flap their wings, and so you hear 50 birds. It's all they're flapping their wings, and it's violent. They break their wings and stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Something. My feeling is this: that whatever scared the dog, whatever woke me up, was the same thing that gave these birds night fright. Something freaked them out. They went nuts. And this is all going on at the same time. And my instinct was, Kevin, get up and hide. That was my instinct. So that's what I did. I got up and I felt naked. I felt vulnerable. I went and I crouched down behind a lazy boy for a couple minutes. Everything got quiet. The bird stopped. The dog stopped. And after a couple minutes, I came out and looked, and that thing was gone, whatever it was gritting. And it was quite low too, and it was fast. And I just felt like whatever that was unholy. That if it knew I was aware of it, it could do anything it wanted to me, and there'd be nothing I could do to stop it. That's the sense I have. So I'm not a psychic, but I do have metaphysical experiences where sometimes my sixth sense will kick in, or I'll get an impression, or I'll, whatever. The other two UFO experiences I had, I didn't have this sense of you're in danger.
I was the same way. Like I said, I'm an abductee, and I wasn't made to fear these things really. And I felt very comfortable around them. And when I've seen other UFOs aside from that experience, and sometimes I'm kind of freaked out about them, but other times I'm not. And I wonder if it's depending on the species.
It could be the species or their intent. I tend to think that like not all one kind of any species is either good or bad. You know how like we're kind of conditioned in pop culture that Pleiadians are good, reptilians are bad. I think that all sentient species, I think good and evil permeates across the whole universe.
Yeah.
And this dimension, and probably all of them, and that all sentient species have some good and some bad.
Yep.
Plus, you got to deal with their social politics. So, first of all, let's acknowledge that not all abduction experiences are negative.
Okay.
Sometimes people have even claimed to be healed because they've had communication with us and they've asked for it, and they've woken up one morning and their whatever is gone. So that tells me that it's not all evil.
I have to totally agree with you. It would be like saying that all Earth people, humans, are bad or are good.
All right, sure.
I think there's a mixture of both in all aspects of life.
And I figured the ones doing the abducting, there's probably multiple. The government's probably doing some abducting. There may be multiple races doing abducting. I think some of which have nefarious theologies that define their social structure and what they're doing. In other words, those particular aliens are serving their government, who is, for all practical purposes, satanic or evil, or they worship some darker deities, or they're not, it's not love and light. If they were all about love and light, at least this group that's doing it, they wouldn't be taking people against their will, or what I'm saying? It would be a different process.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Some of them are negative to freak people out, and of them, half of them are masqueraded as demonic, where you find out that it's really not aliens, but it's, let's say somebody has a fascination or likes sci-fi movies, and all of a sudden they feel they're having abduction experiences. And this is cool, so they embrace it. And in embracing it, they open that door, they give permission, they give consent. Yeah. And once that consent is given, where it's okay that they've been invited into your life, then things start to change. And pretty soon they're in a situation where, hey, this isn't like it was when it first started out and I was liking it. Now I'm freaked out because this has happened and this has happened and what the hell is this? And,
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's what kind of happened with Whitley Strieber, wasn't it? He had what he thought was an interesting experience, and he opened himself up to it. And next thing you know, he's being abducted repeatedly and negatively.
And go ahead.
I actually came across a case study during my demonology studies when I first started studying about this woman who had contacted my mentor at some point because, well, she was sleeping one night. She had been woken up at 3 a.m. to the sight of 6 small gray aliens coming into her bedroom. She would get the sleep paralysis. The 6 little ones would move and part ways, and a taller one would walk in through the wall. And at first, when it happened, she thought it was the coolest thing because she believed in aliens and she always wanted to see one. Well, it started happening night after night to the point where it started to scare her. And so she made the phone call to my mentor and she explained the situation. And he goes, if you have this visitation again, I want you to try and scream Jesus's name out loud. He goes, if they don't react, he goes, then you're dealing with a gray alien. He goes, if they react, he goes, then he goes, that's how you'll know that it's really a demonic entity masquerading as a gray. So she thanked him and hung up the phone. And the next night, same scenario, 3 a.m., she's awake, paralyzed, can't move. 6 small ones come in, part ways, the tall one comes in. After a few seconds, she was actually verbally able to scream out loud Jesus' name. She said that as soon as she did that, the smaller ones looked at the bigger one. They all hissed at each other, hissed at her, turned around, went through the wall, and she never had another visitation by these beings again.
Is that right? Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for coming on the show with us. And
Pleasure having you guys.
Yeah, it was great to talk.
Yeah, right. This was such a nice time. Thank you both for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Folks, thanks a lot for watching. As always, be sure if you like our videos, and if you're new to us, be sure to subscribe and smash that little bell afterwards, and you'll get notified every time we upload a new episode. But anyway, Ralph, are you ready to get out of here?
Sounds good.
All right. Until next time, keep thinking and question everything.